everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss? Where today I have some more news concerning the upcoming new series, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Even though the first season is yet to be released, we are getting a lot of information about the second season of the show, mainly from pictures being posted on the internet. Just last week, Paramount was forced to reveal that Star Trek has recast James Tiberius Kirk and that the character will be appearing in the second season after pictures of the character filming appeared online. I did a video about that story too, and what it means for the show, including what Kirk was up to before being the captain of the Enterprise, and I will link it here and in the description if you would like to hear about it. But today's news comes from an actor on Strange New Worlds posting a behind-the-scenes picture of himself with another actor in heavy makeup, and the picture seems to confirm that Klingons will be coming back to Star Trek. Not only that, but because of the time period, we may even get more insight into one of the most convoluted and controversial aspects of the Klingon race, which is the difference in their appearance from the first time they appeared on screen on the original series from what they looked like when they were next seen in the original motion picture and then thereafter. I should also mention that I love Klingons. They are one of my favorite alien races from any sci-fi franchise, not just Star Trek. So here I will show you the picture of an actor set to appear on Strange New Worlds, then go into the evolution of the look of the Klingons and why they look the way they do depending on what year it is, and then share some of my favorite Klingon-centric episodes for you to watch to learn more about this proud and complicated race. Before I get too far into this though, I want to thank you for clicking on this video and ask that if you do enjoy it to please hit that like button. Also, if you are not subscribed, don't forget to do that as well and hit the bell so that YouTube lets you know when these stories come out. So this picture comes to us from the Instagram page of one of the new actors on the series, John Marsh. He is a Canadian actor who does not have many credits on IMDb, which may explain why he released a behind-the-scenes picture of himself on a major show before it aired. In fact, I am worried that Paramount is going to take this picture off the internet and may even ask me to remove it from this video. But if they don't, here is the picture in question. Just in case I have to remove the picture later from the video, I will quickly describe it as well. The picture shows the actor in a hood next to a man that looks to be in Klingon makeup, most similar to the Next Generation era. But his skin tone is pretty light, and some of his Klingon features are not as pronounced. Also, he is not wearing a Klingon-style uniform, but something more akin to what a human rogue-type character would wear, like Booker from Discovery, or the Benedict Cumberbatch version of Khan from Star Trek Into Darkness. Before you think that this is just a sloppy, weak type of makeup style for a Klingon, a more human-looking version of the warrior race makes perfect sense within the time period that Star Trek Strange New Worlds exists. If you are not familiar with how or why the Klingons changed their appearance, first I'll go over the obvious and then the in-canon storyline. When Star Trek released its first motion picture in 1979, actor Mark Lenard, who is best known for playing Spock's father Sarek, as well as playing the Romulan commander in the classic original series episode Balance of Terror, also played a Klingon commander in one scene of the movie. The look of this Klingon was a massive change from the Klingon seen previously on screen, who looked mostly human. The main reason for the change is that the series ran over a decade before the movie was filmed, and prosthetics and makeup design for movies had progressed greatly in this time. As the movies went on, the Klingon look was expanded upon with the design of the character Krug and his crew in the movie The Search for Spock. Since these movies, there have been slight deviations from this design, most notably in the J.J. Abrams movies. But since those movies do exist in a different universe, and the changes to the Klingon appearance were not well received, most fans agree that the Next Generation era of Klingon, as it is commonly known, is the real look of the Klingon race. This is cemented by the popularity of the character Worf, who was a starring character on both series The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, and even his design was also slightly altered over the many years he played the character. But even though most fans love how the design of the Klingon race looks now, they still want a reason for the massive change in the look of the characters from the different time periods of the shows that makes sense within the Star Trek universe. Deep Space Nine was actually the first series to tackle this matter in the time-traveling episode Trials and Tribulations. The episode itself is a love letter to fans of the show and finds members of the crew of Deep Space Nine back in the era of the original series and working to, mostly, stay out of Kirk and company's way to stop a Klingon spy from killing them. But there is one scene in particular in which Worf, who actually has to hide some of his Klingon features while in this timeline, as well as Bashir and O'Brien, see other Klingons from this time period. The group are confused as to why the Klingons of this time period do not look like what they are used to seeing, and Worf is obviously not too excited to talk about it.
Klingons?
Over there and over there.
Those are Klingons?
Mr. Worf?
They are Klingons, and it is a long story. We do not discuss it with outsiders.
While this scene is a lot of fun, it really does not give us any kind of answer for the change in appearance, but the episode did at least acknowledge it with a hint that it may be expanded upon later. But really, it was the series Enterprise that told most of the story as to why the Klingons of the 23rd century look so much different than the Klingons seen after or before. The episodes titled Affliction and Divergence dealt directly with this by establishing something called the Klingon Augment Virus. This was a virus that was created after the Klingon Empire discovered evidence of Earth's eugenics program in which Earth was able to create genetically modified soldiers like Khan, Noonien Singh in the late 20th century. Fearing that their own empire would be overrun by these augments and not knowing or caring that Earth had made genetic modification illegal and was not pursuing this science, the Klingon Empire began to experiment on their own prisoners to create genetically modified soldiers. Ironically, this fear was realized in the movie Star Trek Into Darkness when one human augment named Khan destroyed an entire group of Klingons single-handedly. Because the original DNA from the project came from human embryos, when Klingons were given this treatment, they also began to look and act more human, which meant that the cranial ridges that are so prominent on Klingons would start to recede and their behavior would become more disobedient. At first, this virus would also kill all of those infected by it, but with the help of Dr. Phlox and Captain Archer, a cure for the virus is stabilized after the virus began to spread. Knowing that the cure will still have the side effect of changing the infected individual's appearance and demeanor, but that this would possibly only affect one generation of the Klingon race. Not only is this a great story and group of episodes, but they also include popular Star Trek guest stars John Schuck as a Klingon doctor and James Avery, who is best known as Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but was also the second choice to play Worf as the Klingon general in charge of the Augment program. Star Trek Strange New Worlds exists any time period after Enterprise but before the original series, so this would still be the time period in which a generation of Klingons would be affected by this condition, which is why it makes sense that any Klingon seen on this series would still have some Klingon features, but that they would not be as prominent as Worf or other Klingons that we are used to seeing. Now, the Klingons on Discovery still did have the prominent Klingon look, so what we may see on Strange New Worlds are the first Klingons affected by the cure to the Klingon Augment Virus. This would be a great way to finally merge all the various iterations of the Klingon design together by showing the transition of the race from its later look to a look more akin to the one seen on the original series. It would also be great to see a character like L'Rell, played on Discovery by Mary Shifo, come back and appear on Strange New Worlds, having gone through this change and seeing how it affected the Klingon race. Ash Tyler is another character that could be brought back from Discovery and inserted into this plotline, as he was once a Klingon named Voq, who was augmented physically to look like a human being. Perhaps something in his transformation triggered the virus to infect on a larger scale, which is why the Klingons on Discovery were not yet affected by it. All in all, I think it's a great idea to tackle the Klingon look within the stories told on Strange New Worlds, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. As far as which episodes of Star Trek I would watch in order to best understand the Klingon race, besides the ones I've already listed, here are some of my favorites. From the original series, I would start with Errand of Mercy, which includes the classic performance of John Colicos as Commander Kor and is the first appearance of a Klingon. From The Next Generation, I would watch The Emissary, which is an episode about a ship of Klingons who still think they're at war with the Federation, along with Ethics, which covers a lot of the Klingon spiritual belief system, which is fascinating in my opinion. Speaking of which, from the Voyager catalog, I would watch Barge of the Dead, which covers Klingon spirituality and their views on the afterlife. But my favorite Klingon-centric episode has to come from Deep Space Nine, and that is the episode titled Soldiers of the Empire. Most of the episode occurs on a Klingon ship, and it really shows the viewer what it will be like to be a Klingon serving at this time. Deep Space Nine, honestly, has about a dozen of my favorite episodes concerning Klingons, so if you want a crash course, watch the episodes I recommended, but if you want to really understand the Klingon race, I would just watch that whole series. Well, that is everything I have, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button if you have enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?